Are you one to never skip leg day? Do people sing songs about the amount of eggs you eat in a day? Do you like winning not by your exploits, but purely out of your reputation? Well, flex those muscle, lift those weights, and prepare to look dashingly handsome while doing it. And the best part is, you don't need a crown to do it, not even a stolen one. That's right, for around 17 US dollars, we're showing you a deck you can build, master, upgrade, and even bring to your local league to have fun with and compete in matches. Hello, Inkspilled Glimmers. I'm your host, Nick, and welcome back to Inkling Adventures, the series where we help players take their first journey into the world of Lorcana. Today, we're exploring the world of deck building with a starter budget version of Ruby Steel Strength. You ready? Let's take a dive. Ruby Steel is a deck that's all about power. Everything around the deck is centered around the strength characteristic of its characters. Specifically, a lot of the cards want your character to have 4 or more strength. The key cards of the deck are Weight Set, which allows you to draw whenever you play a character with 4 or more strength, and Flynn Rider Frenemy, who gains you 3 lore at the start of your turn if you're the one with the most strength on board, uncontested. The plan of the deck is to play characters that are super strong, super scary, preventing the adversary from ever exerting their characters, gain a bunch of lore from Flynn Rider and Maximus without ever needing to quest, use Li Shang to get those questers when they eventually quest to quest for even more, and draw cards with Weight Set. It's a deck that's really strong, that has a ton of built-in removal, but not a lot of evasiveness, and that wins over the game instead of having a big flashy finisher. But if you like something strong, steady, and solid as a rock, maybe Ruby Steel is for you. Since this deck relies on big, strong characters to remove the opponent's threats, we don't have a lot in the early turns. Li Shang, General's son, is our only one-drop character. He's mostly there to serve as a shift target for Li Shang, Valorous General, who we will talk about in a bit. Our other one-drop that we don't mind dropping on turn 1 is Ruby Chromicon, who gives our character +1 strength this turn. Seems on theme. In our 2-drop slot, we have our key card, Flynn Rider Frenemy, which, as we described at the start of the turn, can give you 3 lore if you have the character with the most power on the board. You also have Gaston, Aggressive Hunter, a 2-drop that surprisingly has 4 strength. What a coincidence. Similarly, we have Argis, the Cyclop, also a 4 strength, 1 willpower character that's going to help us meet that 4 strength threshold that we're trying to go for. We can also play Queen of Hearts, Impulsive Ruler, who doesn't have 4, but she has Rush. And more importantly, she's a really good shift target starting on turn 3 for Queen of Hearts Sensing Weakness, which allows you to draw cards whenever one of your character challenges another character. And this deck wants to do a lot of that. If we don't play that in the 2-drop, the other thing we can play, but that we usually delay, is the Snuggly Duckling, a location for 2 with 9 willpower, that says whenever a character with 3 or more strength challenges another character while here, gain 1 lore. If the challenging character has 6 strength or more, gain 3 lore instead. You see the theme of strength coming back again and again and again. In our 3-drop, we have Li Shang, Valorous General. You can shift him by discarding a character card, which we have plenty of, and your characters with 4 strength or more get +1 lore. That is passive. You do not have to exert him to do that. Interestingly, if you target him with the Ruby Chromicon, he himself has 4 strength and will quest for 2. So Li Shang allows us to quest for more with all of our little buddies that end up having 4 strength. For 3 ink, we also find Hercules' True Hero. This 3/3 bodyguard serves mainly to protect our characters from being challenged themselves, but also to shift Hercules' Divine Hero, starting at 4, who is a 6 strength, 3 willpower, resist 2 beast of a hero. This character will take 5 damage in one turn, on one shot, to be removed, or multiple shots of 3. So this is a good shift target, and having Hercules' True Hero there as a bodyguard to protect our early questers is pretty good. We'll also find Lawrence. So Lawrence, Jealous Manservant, when he enters play, is a 4 strength, 4 willpower, even though it says 0/4, because while he has no damage, he gets +4 strength, meaning he will meet all of our requirements as long as he has no damage on him, and he quests for 2 for only 3 ink. That's a really good body for what we're looking for. Similarly, Luisa Madrigal will enter as a 4/4 if you have another character on board, which we don't have too much of a problem to do. In the 4 slot, we have Mulan, Soldier in Training, who's a 4/3 with Rush. So she comes in, triggers whatever we need to trigger that has 4 strength or more, and then can remove something right away. Speaking of Rush removal, we find Hercules, Daring Demigod, in the 5 slot. Another uninkable, but this one's a 7/3. Meaning that if he's on the Snugly Duckling, he's going to gain you 3 lore. We already talked about Queen of Heart, which brings us to Maximus, the team champion. So at the end of your turn, instead of at the beginning for Flynn, if you have any character in play with 5 strength or more, you gain 2 lore. And if instead you have a character with 10 strength or more, you gain 5 lore. He himself quests for 2 and is a 3/5, not triggering most stuff, but with the Chromicons, all of our 4 characters turn into 5-string characters. Meaning, since it's at the end of the turn, you can activate the Chromicon, make one of your character, gain those 2 lore, even the turn he comes down. Hercules, we already talked about him, does not need the buff to meet that threshold. And neither does Gaston, Pure Paragon. This 9-costing character has 10 strength by himself and 6 willpower. He has Rush, he quests for 2, he's going to remove anything in his way. And you usually don't have to pay 9 for him, because he costs 2 less for each damaged character you have in play. So when you remove those pesky little characters your opponent have, you're going to get a discount. In the item slot, Ruby Chromicon, we already talked about it, and Weight Set, which we talked about at the beginning of this, where whenever you play a character with 4 or more strength, you may pay 1 to draw a card, meaning if on turn 3 you drop your Weight Sets, you can starting on turn 4, to play characters that cost 1 less than what your ink is, which is somewhat a change of thought to have. But you can play a Lawrence on turn 4, pay the 1 to draw a card. A Mulan on turn 5, pay the 1 to draw a card. On turn 6, you can play a Lawrence, pay the 1 to draw a card. And if you had an extra ink lying around, a Gaston for 2 and pay the 1 to draw a card. So as it comes down, you get this engine that auto-feeds itself in drawing you a lot of big, dangerous, threatening cards that threaten to remove your opponent completely. If you play this deck and enjoy the feel of it, there's a few easy changes you can make to make it more consistent and better. You can go to 4 copies of Flynn Rider Frenemy, or 4 copies of Maximus, as those are easy payoffs that are often triggered in the deck. If you want to invest a little bit more money, or not even a lot of money, it's $1.40, you can add some Madame Medusa, the boss, into the mix. She's a 6-cost uninkable that is a 4/4, so she triggers all of our little shenanigans. And when you play her, you banish a chosen opposing character with 3 strengths or less. Easy peasy. Now, if you want to put a little more, you can get 1 or 2 copies of Grab Your Sword, which is a song for 5 that deals 2 damage to each opposing characters. You can get a copy or 2 of Mulan, Elite Archer, which is a legendary card that shifts for 5, and when you shift her, she becomes a 5/6 instead of a 2/6, meaning she's going to trigger all of our little engines. But mostly that whenever during your turn she deals damage to another character, you can also deal damage to 2 extra characters that are on the board. So when she challenges, she does that 5 damage from shifting to 3 targets at a time, and the other 2 don't need to be exerted. She's pretty good removal. Climbing up a little bit more, you're going to find the Ruby staple, Maui Hero to All. This 6/5 rush reckless character might not be able to quest, but he's amazing removal, fits in our team, and is one of the absolute best Ruby cards out there right now. If you want to upgrade this deck even further, you're going to have to shell out more than what the deck is worth to build on its own by getting either Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, a 7/5 dragon for 9 that quests for 2 and that banishes a character upon entry, or Beast Tragic Hero, a 3/5 that quests for 2 and that at the beginning of your turn, if he doesn't have damage on it, draws you a second card, and if he does, becomes a 7/5 that can wreak havoc during your turn and trigger your Maximus or your Snuggly Duckling. So another good half removal, half draw engine basically for the deck, but definitely a lot more expensive. Now, let's jump into the game and see how the deck fares. So, Ruby Steel, the deck that likes to flex its muscles. Let's see how it fares here on the draw against the Sapphire deck. Turn 1, you might want to play Li Shang if you have him, but it's really no big deal. Here, playing the Chromicon is absolutely fine. We're not the fastest deck in the West. We're not here to race. We're here to remove characters and use our big strength to really show off. On turn 2, the ideal card would have been Flynn Rider Frenemy. Here we have a Gaston. It's a good threat for Diana, preventing her from efficiently questing, although here they have a Donald Duck bodyguard. It's fine. We're going to be able to crash our Gaston into it and remove it, but really, it's all about that Flynn Rider Frenemy. If we were able to find him, he's able to swing that game so far without questing even once. But here, we play our weight set on 3, which is the ideal turn 3, because starting turn 4, we can start playing those 4 strength characters and paying the 1 to draw the extra card and really get the engine going. On the opposing side, the opponent has their Queen Sensor Core out with their Princess, so they're going to start gaining incidental lore as well. We want to be careful. So we're just taking out our Mulan for 4. We're not drawing. But Mulan is a rush character. She's a good removal. She allows us to keep the board clear and eventually just take back control and win the game. Here, opponent playing a Mickey Mouse. Let's see how it goes. So here you can see, as I was talking before, we're playing our Lawrence for 3, paying the 1, drawing a card, replacing that Lawrence in our hand, and then inking our Queen, who's not a 4-string character anyways. Still looking for that Flynn Rider. Or eventually Maximus, which serves a similar purpose. Here the opponent plays a second Queen Sensor Core. That's a really good draw engine for them, and this deck in particular does not have a lot of item removal. So we really want to be careful not to leave too many characters, especially princesses and queens, on the board when they have these out. So here we play a second Lawrence. Since they don't have damage on them, they have 4 power, which is why we're able to draw cards with the weight set. And we play a Snuggy Duckling, which will allow our characters, when they're located there, to gain lore when they when they challenge other characters based on their power. Here, opponent gains the incidental lore from the princess, plays a Grandpappy, which reveals to us that there is probably some kind of healing sub-team to the deck. Let's see how we can turn it around. Li Shang. So Li Shang will allow our characters with 4 or more to quest for 1 more lore. So as you can see here already, a big turn. Taking back the lore advantage, and then sending Lawrence to the Snuggy Duckling to chill out or something. But yeah, that Li Shang really allowing our characters to quest for a lot by using those 4 power or more. And with the Chromicon, he can quest for 1 more himself. Here we can see the opponent crashing the Grandpappy, healing it with the Popsicle, and gaining the lore from the 2 Grandpappies to come back up. So let's see what he's gonna do. Yeah, sending Jasmine into Lawrence. Since Lawrence had damage on him, he's now a 0 strength character. Fairly easy to remove for our opponent. But we still have ways to deal with the other Jasmine. We're going to buff Li Shang with Chromicon to allow him to quest for 2, as we discussed earlier. And we're going to use Lawrence to remove the Grandpappy here. And then Li Shang and Mulan are going to quest, bringing us up to 16, before dropping RGs and drawing a card with Weight Set, sending him into the Snuggy Duckling, and then sending the rest of our characters there as well, or mostly just Mulan. And there, the opponent has everything they need to go up to 19, which is going to be really hard for us to move through, especially if they can find a way to win this. Doing some math here, removing our Li Shang, so preventing us from going over the finish line this turn while threatening lethal on their end. Although they're still at 15, they're going to gain 2 lore from the Queen Sensor Core, because we're probably not going to be able to remove all the queens and princesses available here. We'll see what we can do. We have a lot of card draw. We have some effective removal. Sending in RGs and Mulan, getting those lore from challenging. Playing Hercules, drawing a card, although Hercules does not have Rush, and then Li Shang, and basically admitting defeat as the opponent has Xaxes on board. As we saw here, even on the draw, and without finding either Flynn Rider or Maximus, the deck was able to keep drawing cards thanks to the weight set, and was almost able to run away with the victory. That Rush Mulan was able to remove the opponent's threat at the right time, and the Ruby Chromicon was able to give our Li Shang the help it needed to quest for more and threaten victory. No deck wins 100% of the time, even though we didn't need to win this one. We feel like it still showed how the deck can perform and how you can still win from your opponent. That's going to be it for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment with the card you'd put in the deck if you were the one building it. We'll see you tomorrow, but until then, keep on questing.